many of you have ever felt personally victimized by Regina George?
Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of The Conquest of Popcorn. I'm Pinko.
And I'm Barto.
And this week we are discussing that early 2000s classic, Mean Girls.
The gem of Tina Fey.
Classic feminist piece, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely some stuff to critique here. But first, how was your week?
It's a good week. Turned 30.
Yeah.
Big 3-0.
We can't trust El Barto. He's over 30.
Yeah. When I was like 18, one of my best buds introduced me to this record by Japanther. It's one of my favorite concept albums of all time. It's called Don't Trust Anyone Over 30. It's basically about the dictatorship of the teen. And a bunch of like burnout kids run for president and inspire the masses and all that. But whatever the case, I've lived by this don't trust anyone over 30 narrative since I was 18 years old and just never expected to get to 30. And now I'm faced with quite the dilemma and don't know who to trust anymore.
You can trust me.
Yeah, for a little while.
Yeah, like another year and change.
Yeah, well.
Wasn't that an old Yippee slogan?
It might be, but I still go to Japanther.
Okay.
How about you? How was your week?
It was mostly, fighting with kids. That's what I do for work.
Just wrestle children.
I battle them through wit and clever wordplay, mostly. And I try not to threaten them with punishments, but I do frequently tell them I'm going to call their mothers, which just strikes fear into all of their hearts.
Rightfully so.
I've never called a parent.
It's good.
I'm technically not allowed to call parents.
Really?
Yeah, since I'm a sub, I don't work for the school district, so
You're not allowed to call a parent?
No, but they don't know that.
Just pretend you're calling a friend, and just friend happens to be this child's mom.
Well, I don't know their parents' phone numbers. I get their homeroom teachers to call their parents if they're really being bad.
Whoa.
Yeah, I know. I'm a narc.
Yeah, you are basically calling the police there.
Well, I could call the police, but I don't want to.
No, don't
so
call
I call
the
mom.
police on children.
I applied to a master's program.
Woo!
It's through Teach for America, which I'm kind of feeling, yeah. But
DeRay endorsed.
Yeah, fuck that. But a good friend of ours at Moanwater, Hoodie Guthrie.
Friend of the pod.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's also a teacher and was telling me, if your options are limited, don't feel too terrible, I guess, is what his message was. Like, as long as my dedication is really there.
And you seem like a dedicated person.
Yeah, I mean, I want to do what I'm already doing. I just want to get paid a living wage to do it. And I cannot afford to go back through an entire bachelor's degree.
No. I mean, no one can actually, no normal people can actually afford a bachelor's degree at all.
Yeah, no, I can't afford the one I have. So this is my best shot.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.
Thank you.
And, yeah.
What else happened this week?
Barbara Bush expired.
Yeah, Babs is dead.
Yeah, one of the great mean girls of modern American
very
history.
Mean girl. Jesus. Yeah. What else? Oh, the Women's March said "Rest in Power."
Yeah, rest in power,
as
Barbara
if she
Bush.
hadn't lived in power.
Yeah, just doing their best to absolutely alienate everybody, across the political spectrum. And there's something really beautiful about that, I think. But mostly it's horrifically ugly, and we should stop weaning on them for anything at all.
Yeah. I almost went to that. The first Women's March.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the one that was the day after the inauguration, because heaven forbid we disrupt the inauguration itself.
You know, Trump is bad, but processes and procedures
Those are good.
Very good. And doing anything to get in the way of these processes and procedures is to actually be anti-democracy as such. And Women's March aren't that, or the women's marchers. Yeah, it was, that day, January 21st, it was wild, just like imagining, what if each and every woman out in that crowd just picked up a brick?
It was a huge crowd.
It was massive.
Yeah, some friends of mine and I were planning to go to it and rep Food Not Bombs and hand out some radical feminist literature, but then some of us got arrested at the real protest on J20. Yeah, but their charges were dropped.
Woo!
Yeah, so fuck the state.
Woo! But there's like 60 other people whose charges are not dropped, right? And it's mostly people who like went on podcasts and stuff talking about it, I think.
Yeah, that actually, I think I saw that was a big theme, was that the people whose charges were not dropped are people who were really vocal about it.
Like on social media.
Yeah.
They were maybe like organizers or like had done organizing in the past and things like that.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any real evidence against them at all. So basically, I don't know, but I know that they are still in trial, and their trial date was actually just pushed back. The prosecution needs more time to prepare.
Yeah, it was supposed to be at the end of April. I think it's in the middle of June sometime now.
Yeah, actually, I have it in my calendar. I think it's in May, actually. But regardless, they were going to have a Black Bloc expert, somebody who had infiltrated an anarchist group a long time ago, some group that had nothing to do with...
I'm also a Black Bloc expert.
Oh, really?
They should call me the
to replace this guy.
Yeah.
So they withdrew this person.
Weird.
Yeah. So they no longer have a Black Bloc expert.
Well, what will they know then, if not the psychological makeup of the bloc as such?
I don't know, but either way, I think it's clear that they don't have much of a case, and they just keep kind of pushing this off,
making people's lives a little bit harder.
The wait and the process of having to go to all these pre-trial hearings and travel to DC a whole bunch, that shit is just as punishing and just as chilling to people's free speech rights, and it's the state really fucking sucking.
Yeah, flexing in like the most like baby wimpy
they're
way
denying
possible.
These people's right to a quick trial. Anyway, everybody don't forget about the J20 defendants that are still facing serious charges, and donate to the J20 Defense Fund, because they need all the help they can get.
Yeah. Support them. Don't support the Women's March. Speaking of bourgeois white feminism,
Mean Girls.
Let's pivot to Mean Girls.
Yeah, let's pivot to Mean Girls.
Take it away. Start us off.
Well, so everybody I think has seen this movie, but
if you haven't,
get with the times. It came out 14 years ago.
Yeah.
Which, Jesus, it came out.
Holy shit.
I'm old. So. Anyway, it's about Katie Heron, played by Lindsay Lohan, just moved to some Chicago suburb.
Yeah, she's like, they're like in Schaumburg or I forget where, but just some like kind of upper crust Chicago suburb. Her mom has a residency at Northwestern University. I did not notice or recognize any of the locations in this movie, unfortunately. But there really aren't very many.
Yeah, it's mostly the inside of high school.
Yeah.
Anyway, Katie's just moved there from Africa. They don't say what part of Africa.
Yeah, they sort of suffer from Africa as a countryism.
Yeah.
Throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, and her mom had been working there both her parents are research zoologists, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So whatever. So this is her first time in a public high school.
Mm-hmm.
She was homeschooled up until that.
Weird.
Yeah.
Oh, they make that really
classist, but still kind of funny joke.
Yeah.
About homeschool kids being weird.
And on the third day, God created the Remington bolt-action rifle so that man could fight the dinosaurs and the homosexuals. Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they I mean, what's funny about that line, you know, they have two homeschool kids. There's the one who could spell really, really well, and then the like homophobic poor Christian kid who likes guns.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, I think a lot of those sort of reactionary people aren't super poor, even though they're being portrayed that way. They're definitely wealthy enough or well off enough to have a parent who stays home and
teaches the kids
full time.
Doesn't work.
Yeah. And actually, most of the kids that I've known who were homeschooled for religious reasons came from pretty well off families.
Yeah, all the ones I met growing up were.
Yeah, I mean, that's purely anecdotal. I don't have any data to back that up, but...
whenever I remember watching documentaries. There was like a documentary series that came out a couple years ago about, maybe this is actually just a Louis Theroux thing, but about homeschool kids. But yeah, they're almost all like, at least upper middle class. You know, that's what a lot of homeschool kids are, at least. Obviously, there's like a whole milieu of situations that you could find yourself finding reasons to be a homeschool parent, but a lot of people who do it for like because they don't like the secularism of school have the material luxury to afford to do such a thing, and this weird portrayal of the like poor.
Well, it's very bourgeois feminism.
Yeah.
Looking at people who have reactionary values as like uneducated poor people.
Right. I mean, it's the same logic of like, let's just not give a shit what all the red states care about. You know?
Blaming poor people in red states for their own plight, even though it's statistically very likely that those people didn't vote for Trump or at all.
Yep.
So we have Katie entering public high school for the first time, and she meets our next protagonist, Janice Ian, played by Lizzie Kaplan.
Janice rules.
Yeah, Janice is pretty cool.
Janice and Damien.
Yeah, Damien, who's Damien played by?
Daniel Franzese.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him in much else.
I don't know what he's in.
Yeah.
But he's wonderful in this.
Oh, yeah, he's delightful. So Janice has a history of not getting along with Regina George, played by Rachel McAdams, and she convinces Katie to sort of infiltrate Regina's little clique called the Plastics.
Right.
This starts when Regina's group invites Katie to eat lunch with them for the week. Right,
which is sort of this weird, I mean, there's a couple things going on in this movie, I think. But one of the things that they're doing is this weird, they keep bringing up kind of critiques of like hierarchical structures. And
sorta.
Well, I mean, we'll get to. I mean, the thing about the Brutus speech, but what's his name? Jason, the guy who hits on Katie right away.
Right.
So there's this immediate thing that happens where Katie gets hit on in the lunchroom by this dude making a dirty joke, and this the girls speak up and basically invite her over to the table, and it's like an acquisition.
Right, so it sort of seems like they're doing it to defend Katie from this guy who's creeping on her. Like, innocent little Katie doesn't know what to do when a creepy dude comes along and says something inappropriate. But actually, it seems there's an underlying reason, and that is
this idea that she's like competition.
Right.
And so, like any other company that sees like a competitor in their market, why compete with them when they already have a customer base and things like that?
Yeah,
and
so
they
just
can absorb them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely true. But I think that there's another sort of thesis to this movie, which is my main critique of this movie.
Oh.
So it is about competition and how it's bad, but it's more than that about women competing with each other for the wrong things.
Okay.
So we have a group of teenage girls that are competing for each other for social status, or competing with each other for social status and for the affections of a particular boy, Aaron Samuels, which Aaron is sort of an extension of social status because he's like the hot football player guy. In any case, we see this competition going on throughout the movie. It's tearing the school apart. It ends in a huge brawl among all of the 10th grade girls.
Such a good scene. It's so well done.
Or 11th grade girls, I think, not 10th grade. Yeah, the juniors. So that's all clearly bad and wrong. Women should be in solidarity with each other to help lift each other up, girl power, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the movie, Katie goes to a mathletes competition, and the final round, the winner take all round, she is faced off with a girl from another school who is dressed badly, terrible makeup.
Hair is a mess. Whoever, I wish we had written down this actress's name because she rules.
Yeah, but Katie realizes that critiquing this girl's appearance isn't going to help her win this competition, and what she needs to do is beat her at math. So what we have here is competition is good between women. It just needs to be for the correct things. Things that are marketable for capitalism.
Yeah.
Intellectual pursuits. Career skills.
Right.
That type of thing.
You should be competing with other women for work and not boys.
Right. And, I mean, yeah, it's like the Sheryl Sandberg lean-in brand of feminism.
Right.
And, Tina Fey wrote this movie, and yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it all makes perfect sense.
Bossy Pants. I actually never read Bossy Pants.
I read about 15 pages of Bossy Pants. I don't know. I feel like she talked about farting a lot in those 15 pages. And I sort of was like, I get where this is going.
Yeah, I enjoy a lot of Tina Fey's work, but I also think that politically she's very vapid and weak.
I sort of 30 Rock is both one of my favorite shows of all time and one of the shows that makes me at an intellectual level more mad than anything I've ever seen on television.
It's just liberal fluff bullshit nonsense, and I mean
but even that, Jack is right the entire show. Alec Baldwin is always right, and her liberal, her very soft, soft left take is always wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's self-defeating liberalism. And I mean, it's great. One of the things that makes liberals so good at comedy is their ability to make fun of themselves.
True.
But they just do it. The self-owns from that particular group in the political spectrum become so problematic. And I mean, Tina Fey is the person who recently upset everyone by saying that our way of dealing with fascism should be to sit home and eat sheet cake.
Yeah, just like absolutely. It was just like peak, like, I've got money and I'll be okay.
Yeah. And that's what this movie is. Everybody in this movie is sort of affluent, mostly white. Mm. Actually, the way they talk about race in this movie is incredibly bad.
Oh, man, it's so bad.
Yeah, we have a cafeteria that is very racially segregated, which I will admit my high school was like that. But I think that my high school was a bit of a different situation from theirs. My high school was... so in Wilmington, there isn't a public high school within the city limits except for a charter school.
Which is wild.
Yeah, so they bus the kids that live in the city out to the suburbs. So there was sort of a forced blending going on, which I think it had its good sides and its bad sides. I think it was good that people were forced to mix with each other and get along. I think it's bad that these kids had to get up so gosh darn early in the morning and didn't have a high school in their own community. That sucks.
Yeah.
In any case, the cafeteria was pretty segregated along racial lines, but
mine too.
My city is segregated along racial lines. People were sitting with the people that they went to middle school with and lived up the street with.
Right.
But this cafeteria in this movie, they refer to different cliques. There are, what are they?
The hot Asians.
The hot Asians, the unfriendly black hotties. And then anybody who's not white is referred to by their race. Already uncomfortable, wrong, bad. And then everybody else is sort of divided by...
disorders?
Yeah.
Like
sexually active band geeks. Like their interests and their, eating disorders.
Habits. Yeah.
Girls who eat their feelings, girls who don't eat anything, the plastics, and the best people you'll ever meet.
Yeah,
which is Janice and Damien.
Yeah, who are currently just sort of making platitudes about people, that they pass.
Yeah. So this is a problematic division within the high school already. The way they handle cliques. So then, what's next?
I mean, the plastics take in Lindsay Lohan. She learns the rules of the plastics and shows up. She has to wear pink the next day and shows up in this like
enormous pink polo shirt that she's borrowed from Damien.
Yeah, and looks like a total square.
Yeah, she does.
And they tell her that she can't wear her hair in a ponytail for the rest of the week, only once a week. And you notice this, that her hair is actually an important signifier through the film.
Yeah. So Katie has sort of straight, cute, innocent looking hair, not super styled or anything throughout the beginning of the movie. And then there's a point where their plans to take down Regina George start to come to fruition, and there's a scene where the plastics are giving Katie a makeover, and at this point Katie becomes incredibly obsessed with her double life and taking down Regina, and all she can think about is Regina. She says, I'm a woman possessed, or I was a woman possessed. I was either talking about Regina George or waiting for someone else to bring her up so that I could talk about her. And we see Katie has her hair, it's sort of that like beach waves, just woke up, didn't brush my hair look that you see like a Victoria's Secret models wear. And her clothing becomes much more provocative. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of the movie, when she makes up for her terrible behavior, she goes back to her straight not heavily styled
goes
hair.
through her, scene of redemption again, and
goes back to her little girl hairdo.
Yeah, but basically, what happened? Katie starts to develop a crush and learns that she's not allowed to have this crush
on Aaron Samuels.
On Aaron.
Our main piece of competition.
Our main piece of competition, yes.
Something I sort of liked in this movie, but maybe I shouldn't like, is the men in this movie are purely like love interests and peripheral characters in much the way that women in so many movies are love interests and peripheral characters.
That's totally true.
The male characters are all incredibly one-dimensional, except for Damien. Damien's actually a little one-dimensional.
Even Damien is one-dimensional. They keep... Janice keeps referring to him as too gay to function, which I think is it's supposed to be a loving jab, but
it's only okay when she says it.
And it's only okay when she says it. But he nenever expresses attraction towards anyone.
No,
really at all, except women, really.
All of his signifiers for his gayness are in behaving effeminately, and there is no, like, Damien has a inner life at all.
No, yeah, it's just, like, singing in the rain posters in his bedroom and stuff like that.
Yeah, and his really good Christina Aguilera cover.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at the talent show.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
He has a magical voice. But, we get this really... When Lindsay Lohan first starts hanging out with is the mall scene before they go to Regina's house?
Yes.
So they have the mall scene where you get this really strange, again, it's just like slut shaming is just a huge part of this movie.
Yeah, slut shaming is a huge problem in this movie.
And they get and part of it is, like, it's knowingly a huge problem, but they don't resolve it very well.
No, they don't. So in the mall scene, Gretchen sees the boy that she likes talking to another girl at the mall. They're clearly on a date or something, and she's very upset about it. So Regina calls that girl's house, pretends to be Planned Parenthood with her test results, which... somebody should inform this mom that Planned Parenthood would never call your house and say, hey, this is Planned Parenthood with your test results. Have her call us back immediately. But in any case, that's sort of her revenge for going out with a guy that didn't belong to her. And later in the movie, when we have our big redemption scene, Miss Norbury, played by Tina Fey, tells the girls, you've got to stop calling each other sluts and whores, because it just gives guys permission to call you sluts and whores.
Which is not a good resolution.
No, it's bullshit. Like, you shouldn't call each other sluts and whores because there's nothing wrong with being a sexually liberated woman, and men's opinions have nothing to do with it.
It's the language equivalent of Tina Fey saying, like, well, what were you wearing when he touched your butt?
Yeah, so, like, how women interact with each other, it has no bearing on what's okay for men to do to women, and I really hate this logic. And I also, part of my critique of this movie is, for being such a feminist film, there is zero critique of patriarchy at all anywhere in this movie.
It does not, like, patriarchy is, like, there's the joke that Jason makes to Lindsay Lohan right, as she's walking in this cafeteria for the first time and is overwhelmed, and he makes a joke about having sex with her. But otherwise, patriarchy is just, like, not a thing.
No, and in fact, the boys hitting on the girls in this movie is sort of comic.
Yeah, all of it.
They're seen as sort of pests, but, like, in a funny way. It's definitely played for laughs. Like, look at these silly guys shooting their shot with these girls that are way out of their league, kind of thing.
It's like when, like, a cat just starts running their head into you over and over, and you go, haha, you know, because this is how futile or whatever.
Yeah.
When I'm not a woman, but I don't think those are how the power dynamics feel.
Yeah,
in the real world.
No, men hitting on you, especially strangers, when you're in a strange place and you're not comfortable because you have no idea how to interact with people. Somebody coming up and hitting on you in that situation is threatening and scary and like it's just awful. But this is part of this movie this is why I say it's like a bourgeois feminist film. There is no critique of power structures anywhere in this movie.
No. Well, I mean, a little.
Where?
I mean, just because Regina acts like a boss. And
there's critiques of the sort of social hierarchy that girls create within their own groups.
Yeah.
But those aren't actual power structures.
No, I don't mean, I guess there's no critique of, like, any sort of systematic or systemic power structures or anything like that. Just like the ones, the mini ones that we create amongst ourselves.
I mean, we never even ask why Regina is powerful. Why? I mean, it's because she's wealthy and white.
Right.
The only critique of whiteness ever in this movie, there's two. There's when Karen asks Katie if she's from Africa, why is she white? And then Gretchen says, you can't just ask them why they're white, which actually I think you absolutely can ask a person who says they're from Africa why they're white if they're a white person.
That's fair.
Why are you from Africa if you're white?
Elon Musk, are you really African?
Yeah.
I don't think you are.
Not that you and I have any room to talk being white.
Oh,
and
yeah,
American.
absolutely. But call me out.
Yeah, call me out. The other is Kevin G telling Katie he only dates women of color, which is played for laughs.
Kevin G's...
I love him.
Yeah, Kevin G, he's sort of a minor character, but he's like the head of the Mathletes and a dope-ass MC, I think is what he says
on his business card.
His business card. He's not a dope MC, but he delivers every line of his rap perfectly.
Yo, all you sucker MCs ain't got nothing on me. From my grades to my lines, you can't touch Kevin G. I'm a mathlete, so nerd isn't first, but forget what you heard. I'm like James Bond III.
Yeah, I love his character. I think he's hilarious. I love his invitation to Katie to join the Mathletes. We can get twice as much funding if we have a girl. So think about it, because we want jackets. I love it. It's hilarious. And it's such a frank sort of look at how liberal kind of inclusiveness functions, maybe.
Yeah, it's like the hire more women guards thing.
I mean, not that I'm saying we shouldn't try to have more women in STEM. We should, but... maybe we should also talk about why there aren't more women in STEM.
Right.
But I think actually that was sort of tongue-in-cheek and laughing at it a little bit, that part.
Oh, yeah,
laughing
I think it was.
Liberal ideas of diversity.
This movie, like, I don't think Tina Fey's lean on feminism is all bad.
No, there's a lot of stuff in this movie I agree with.
But... like you're saying, Kevin's, I only date women of color thing is, I think, one of those, like, looking at someone and being like, you're too woke, you think that someone who thinks shit matters, or even if it's like, his reasoning is silly, it is a joke, but it's like looking at identity politics and being like, actually, this is silly. Well,
and he's also in that process still objectifying women,
right?
So I think that's an interesting critique. Like, even through our attempt to create diversity and be when we do it in this way where we just sort of have a 1% that's diverse, it's sort of making these people into like objects in a way.
Right. Absolutely.
It's holding up like this token.
Right.
And he's doing that to women. But again, like, diversity and inclusiveness are good. It's just that the way it is accomplished in the neoliberal project is still very exclusive to most people.
Right.
So that is something we see in this movie, but it's not really critiqued at all, I don't think.
No, not at all.
I mean, it is a comedy.
Yeah.
So I might be expecting too much from this movie, but, you know, it's a Tina Fey movie, so I have to pick it apart.
No, well, and it's, like, ostensibly a feminist film, and so it's good to go over these things.
Yeah. So where are we?
Regina George's house.
Oh, yes, with her
weird,
amazing mom, played by Amy Poehler.
Yeah, Amy Poehler rules, and her weird sister.
Oh, yeah. The sister who is dancing along to MTV, or no, to a Girls Gone Wild commercial.
Initially MTV, and then we come back later, and she's imitating a Girls Gone Wild commercial.
Yeah, which, a little slut-shamey again.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want my 8-year-old to be imitating Girls Gone Wild commercials.
No.
But the critique of pop culture, it all feels very like grown-ups shaming the kids for,
I mean,
you kids and your music and your dumb pop culture, this is what's ruining society.
They made this joke on The Simpsons like years ago where Homer walks in and Lisa is like dancing provocatively to some music video she's watching on TV, and he starts yelling at her, and then he starts watching the TV and gets distracted by the dancers on television, and then, you know, the yelling stops and Lisa's allowed to do whatever they want. But basically this like idea of like MTV's gonna do things to our kids is like, you know, like this trope that's been like hammered into us forever.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, you know, maybe not everyone knows, but I think we actually talked about already that, you know, things like teen drug use is down lower than it's, you know, it's trending downward from like the 50s.
Teen pregnancy's down.
You know,
teen crime rates are down.
All the bad things that like you associate with, you know,
youth
being
culture
corrupted, you know, youth culture corrupted, you know, by, you know, the demons that are like provocative television and stuff like that, is better than whoever is writing the joke than when they were a teen.
Yeah.
But whatever. Amy Poehler is wearing pink, just like the girls.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, and they wear pink, including Mrs. George, apparently. She's got the dog that's chewing on her nipple.
Her fake boob.
Her boob job, which... yeah, I don't know. I'm always a little skeptical of people who are really shamey about plastic surgery.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I think that there is an industry of shaming women about their bodies to get them to have plastic surgery.
Right.
It's sort of one of those like women can't do anything right situations. Either you have a perfect body,
or you're someone who is like full of themselves enough to...
Yeah, so it's like we want you to look perfect, but you can't put any effort into looking perfect.
Right.
Yeah, it sucks.
And speaking of that's the sort of important thing I think that happens in the scene, besides like all the affirmations that Amy Poehler is like the cool mom, and it's like, you know, she's shooed away. What they go and they do this thing where they do the standing in front of the mirror ritual.
Oh, yeah.
Where they shit on how they look.
Yeah, they actually mentioned that scene on Season of the Bee. That's a good podcast that y'all should check out. But they did an episode on Season of the Bee about body image for femmes, and one of the ladies on the show was talking about that scene when Regina George says she has man shoulders. That was the first time that it ever occurred to her that having broad shoulders is a thing to be ashamed of, and then she began feeling self-conscious about her shoulders, which I thought was such a sad story, because honestly,
it's like a fine critique of like that this is a silly thing.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of having broader shoulders it's pretty. I don't know, maybe I'm weird.
I mean, that was
it kind of makes your waist look narrower in comparison.
We had like a decade and a half where
women wore those sleeves to look huge.
Yeah.
Wait, so like Victorian era or like the 80s? Which one are we talking about here?
I'm talking about the Victorian era. No, I'm talking about Paula Poundstone. I'm talking about like every single 80s pop star who's a woman. I'm talking about
Dana Scully.
I'm talking about I don't remember the character's name, but Tim the Toolman Taylor's wife.
Yeah.
Shoulder pads.
It's a hot look.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that if your shoulders are narrow, you're not hot. My shoulders are pretty narrow. But yeah. Ladies, please don't feel self-conscious about your shoulders. They're beautiful in all shapes and sizes.
ASAB.
All shoulders are beautiful?
All shoulders are beautiful.
Didn't you have a funny story about your high school shaming girls for their shoulders?
Oh, there was, okay, so I had this really, I guess it was be like a super woke history teacher in 8th grade who was like the first dude, like after September 11th, we were watching like the Osama bin Laden, like supposedly confessional video. And he was like, and they could translate this however they want. I bet Bush blew up them towers. And so he was like this really weird, interesting guy who would give more of his own brand of life advice than teach history so much. But there was a ban on spaghetti straps.
Yeah, we had that at my school too.
At our school, and none of the young women could understand why spaghetti straps are banned, and that he just like had this like, some guys are shoulder guys, and you can't just give that to them.
I hate that shit.
No, yeah, I mean, he was a weird dude. All of it.
Well, I mean, that is where the school's going with it. You're distracting the boys.
Yeah.
Like, God forbid we teach boys to like mind their own damn business and pay attention and, develop some self-control.
Hard agree. And yeah, I mean, he probably said that, and then he would leave class all the time or stop class all the time. He'd just be like, the queen is calling, and then he'd talk to his wife on the phone for like 10 or 15 minutes. He was a cool dude. Weird dude. But yeah, I think he faked a neck injury for like a quarter of the year. It was fascinating.
Why?
Fascinating, because he just got out of school. He'd come back every couple of weeks with this giant brace on. He seemed fine, but yeah. Anyways, shout out to Mr. Gilliam. Okay, yeah, we have the flaws. We have, I guess the next big thing is the Halloween party.
Oh, yeah. So Aaron invites Katie to a Halloween party.
Which is what you were saying before, basically about the plastic surgery, about the double standard.
Oh, yeah. So Halloween's the one day of the year that girls can dress like total sluts and nobody can say anything about it. Yeah, a lot more of the slut shaming stuff.
Right.
But then Katie dresses up in a wedding dress and blood and ghoul teeth and a wig, and she's a corpse rider, an ex-wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, ha ha ha. So she shows up to the party like this. Everybody thinks she's fucking weird, except for Aaron, who's into it. But Also, he, like, is making fun of Regina George for wearing lingerie and bunny ears.
Right.
So it's sort of one of those things where
there is no correct.
There's nothing. Girls can't do anything right.
Right.
You know, either you dress like a slut and then you're called a slut, or you dress in like a proper Halloween costume and then they're like, "Why aren't you dressed like a slut?"
Yeah. I mean,
it's rough.
Yeah. The only appropriate outcome is to wear just like full mascot uniform. You know, you can't see the face. There's no indicator of gender at all.
Nobody knows who you are.
You're just the Philly what's it, or
the Philly fanatic.
Fanatic. There we go. It's not the Philly what's it. It's the Philly fanatic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's okay. You've just moved here. We'll give you some time.
Thank you. But yeah, that's the only appropriate social outcome is if you go that route.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, remember that for next Halloween, I guess. But
yeah. So Regina tells Aaron that Katie has a crush on him, and then tells him a bunch of other ridiculous stories about her going to perform a voodoo curse
on the tissues she
that he
saved
used.
Of his, yeah.
And then she
normal stuff.
Yeah, makes out with Aaron, and Katie realizes that Regina is not her friend.
So it pivots hard to like, okay, we got to get this girl.
Yeah, we're gonna take her down. So Katie goes to Janice's house, where they write out a plan for how to take down a dictator. You cut off her resources.
Right.
So she writes, what is it? Hot body, army of skanks, and what was the other thing? Oh, boyfriend. On the board. And these are the things that they're going to take away from Regina George.
They do a pretty shitty job of it at first.
Yeah, they aren't doing a great job.
They do pretty bad, and really just Lindsay Lohan gets more and more wrapped up in enjoying plasticdom. Speaking, can we do a quick aside really quick to just like assess where Lindsay Lohan is in the world right now?
Oh, yeah. So Lindsay Lohan, the woman herself.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if she's not like necessarily like a Trump supporter, but in she falls on that like we have to respect him because he's our president thing. But even stranger, she's gone
converting to Islam
and converting to European. Those are like the two things she's developed
an accent.
Yeah, she developed this weird Eastern European / Mediterranean accent. She opened a nightclub, a pro-refugee nightclub in Greece.
I don't know how that helps refugees.
It's apparently in a. I think the area it's in is actually they were donating money to some organization.
Oh, so is it also a safe place where refugees can go party?
I doubt it. It's called Lohan, which leads me to believe it's a fairly exclusive place to go hang out and not cheap. But she met Erdogan and Bana, and took Instagram photos with them, and then deleted all her Instagram photos, and is maybe converting to Islam. So, cool stuff on the horizon for Lohan.
Most of that I don't have a problem with. I think the accent's a little weird, but I really can't understand supporting Trump, even on the level of like decorum and doing all the rest of that shit.
Yeah, I mean,
because Trump is so counterproductive to all of that.
Imagine being in the same room with Erdogan, but that's
that too.
That's very strange.
Yeah, that too. I'm sorry. I should have also said and supporting Erdogan. Bana, I'm not even going to touch that.
Yeah, that's a whole can of worms that I'm not ready to open.
As far as my opinion on the Syrian war, I do not know what is actually happening in Syria. I cannot find a source that I can actually verify is reliable, but I do know that the U.S. has no fucking business there.
Right.
And we should just stay the hell out.
We're going to try and track down Lindsay Lohan, who knows the truth about Syria,
Yeah,
and we're gonna get
Lindsay,
it out of her.
go on popcorn.
Yeah, come on, popcorn. But anyways, yeah, Lindsay Lohan or Katie. As
we're
Katie,
pivoting back to the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so Katie Heron.
Yeah. Is becoming fully engrossed in plasticdom.
Yes.
And it's just kind of becoming mean.
Yeah. She's, as she says, if it seemed like I was acting like a total bitch, it's because I was acting like a total bitch.
Yeah. Well, and again, her hair is full.
Yeah, so she's on full, like,
Victoria's Secret model hair.
Yeah.
You know, which is whatever. You know, maybe you disagree with that look.
You know, I mean, I rock that look sometimes. I don't have a problem with that look. I just thought it was interesting to see the hair as a signifier of Katie's moral stance in the world.
Right. Yeah, she's alienating more people in her life. She's getting worse at math, or pretending to be worse at math. Is anything really wild happened between that and the party that she throws? She starts, I mean...
Well, she, like, really does take down Regina.
Oh, yeah, she does. She gets
Aaron. She gets... Regina to realize that Aaron is cheating on, or that she's cheating on. Let me start that over again. She gets Aaron to realize Regina is cheating on him. She is giving Regina these Caltine bars that are making her gain weight, and she's gotten Gretchen Wieners to just completely tell all of Regina's secrets and turn on Regina.
Right. Which is, you know, a series of brilliant moves.
Yeah, so they, Regina has gained so much weight that all she can wear are sweatpants. She's wearing sweatpants for the second day that week, which means she can't sit with them.
Kicked off the lunch table.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah.
And before that happens, there's that really good speech. So, as the lead up to this is going on, Regina is sort of like goes on this campaign of just sort of like shitting on Gretchen. And she has this awesome speech about Caesar.
Why should Caesar get to stomp around like a giant while the rest of us try not to get smushed under his big feet? What's so great about Caesar? Brutus is just as cute as Caesar. Okay, Brutus is just as smart as Caesar. People totally like Brutus just as much as they like Caesar. And when did it become okay for one person to be the boss of everybody, huh? Because that's not what Rome is about. We should totally just stab Caesar!
But yeah, so they're clearly learning Julius Caesar in class, and Gretchen goes off on Caesar, who is obviously Regina.
Yeah, and just like this like beautiful tangent, and we were watching it and said they should have just ended the movie here.
Yeah, I think that they should have. This would be a great ending. Well, actually, I think keep going. Regina gets hit by a bus. Katie takes responsibility for the burn book, all that. But if we just cut out the whole mathletes part, that'd be great, because I disagree with the message of only certain types of competition are good.
Right.
Because I'm a fucking anarcho-communist, damn it. We shouldn't be competing at all. We should just be, let's all get along. Kumbaya.
I personally think it would be really cool to end this movie on, we should totally just stab Caesar.
Yeah.
And then just like hard cut, and then that's it.
I'm into it.
That would be
Maybe
wild.
Maybe that's how we'll end this episode.
The party happens, which has awesome music playing.
Yeah,
there's awesome music throughout this movie. Just like that early 2000s, like mainstream hip hop that was just like Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes. There's some good stuff in there.
Yeah. So then Katie's talking to Aaron in the bedroom.
very drunk.
Yeah, she confesses that she's been pretending to fail math so that he'll help her. And the reason she's doing this is because she wasn't allowed to talk to him because he was Regina's property.
Womp womp.
Yeah, so Aaron takes offense to that. It's the one time Aaron actually stands up to himself and rejects this manipulation of the women in his life, which...
Yeah, he's been so wispy and, like, such a wimp through this whole fucking thing.
That whole scene where Regina says to him, "You look so sexy with your hair pushed back." Katie, tell him he looks sexy with his hair pushed back. Like, he knows Katie has a crush on him. He knows Regina's history of cheating on him in the past. Why doesn't he realize that he's being used?
Yeah,
but
he's like a worm on a hook, and there's just dangling for a very hungry fish.
Men
and,
just...
I mean, I
do for a pretty face.
I do remember being a high school boy. And I was
just
like...
don't think very well when they're horny.
I wasn't a monstrous high school boy, I don't think. But I do remember being a high school boy. I don't think I would have let anyone do that to me.
No.
I think I would have said, this is a weird behavior. And it shouldn't have taken someone drunkenly telling you that you're being treated like property for him to have figured out that he's being treated like property.
Well, and also just like, she's kind of confessing at this point. Like, I would have heard her out. She's telling him the truth.
Right.
She's coming clean.
Yeah. Weird wording, but, she's trying her drunken best.
Yeah.
So there's the burn book.
Yeah. Oh, we should also talk about the burn book.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a huge point in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, so after the burn book, again, we're assuming y'all have seen the movie. The burn book is, the
where they write mean things about every girl in school.
The stash of mean things about everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, and what's interesting about it is, once it's out there and released, you realize it is like lots of things heard through the grapevine, which means someone had to tell someone to give up a secret for it to have arrived at the destination it ultimately got to.
Yeah. The burn book.
To the burn book.
It's full of more slut shaming.
Lots of slut shaming.
Homophobia. What they say about Miss Norbury, they're really shaming her for being a divorced person with 3 jobs, and I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, they play it for laughs a lot. I'm a divorced person with more than 1 job. A little ouchy there, but
it falls right into the sort of like what makes a successful woman is one who can successfully outcompete another woman in the job market.
Yeah.
And Tina Fey has not been able to do that.
Yes.
And so she's sort of the butt of a number of, like, she's not portrayed as a bad person, but as ultimately a failure.
Yeah. She's using her failure to push her students to be more successful, but she is portrayed as a failure.
It's sort of like, don't make the same mistakes as me.
Yeah, I mean, her worth as a human is sort of centered on her productiveness, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's a big shame. Big shame.
I don't think that... so, her being shamed about her divorce, I don't think that that's necessarily... Like, it's not the fact of her getting divorced. It's more that it's just her misfortune. Like, anybody having any misfortune in this movie is viewed as, like, weakness. Yeah.
Which is maybe, like, the correct lens to, if we're looking at the movie from, like, wealthy white teenage girls in high school, that this makes sense.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I will say, both as a former teenager and somebody who works with preteens every day, this movie is spot on for that age group's behavior.
Yeah.
Like, completely. Even, like, Katie's, like, slamming Miss Norbury, saying, oh, she was so weird. She kept saying, I'm a pusher, Katie, I'm a pusher. And she's just angry that Miss Norbury is failing her for, like, you know, intentionally fucking up her math tests.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being a teen and knowing I was wrong and still finding a reason to make it the teacher's fault. And I see it happen every day at my work where there's one teacher who I really get along pretty well with this teacher, but the students like to push her to her absolute wit's end. And then she has to get strict with the kids to, like, you know, make class happen. She's a fantastic teacher. I think her classes are fun and engaging, and the kids are lucky to have her, but they all absolutely hate her.
What a shame.
Yeah, apparently she, like, let slip a bad word at a student one time.
Oh, yeah.
Which I every time they bring this up to me, I'm like, you know, you guys cuss teachers out all day, every day. I get cussed out several times a day, every day here. And the minute one of your teachers shows that they're human a little bit and let slip a little, you know, it wasn't right for her to do that, but do you really think that she should just be punished for the entire school year because she made a mistake once? And they all just become very indignant when I point this out. Maybe one day it'll sink in.
You know, like, hypocrisy is not a thing that, like,
resonates with anybody, but especially not with children. I mean, children love to point out hypocrisy.
Right.
They don't give a crap about it when
everyone loves to point out hypocrisy. That is everyone's favorite thing in the world to do is point out hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And are really bad at, like, recognizing hypocrisy in themselves. And it's because that's hard to do. And when you point it out, it's like, it's this thing that, like, destroys this part of your self-image, because part of, you know, how you function is you think that you function without hypocrisy. And so when someone's like, you're being hypocritical, it's just like this shattering bit, and you gotta tape that back together as good as possible.
I mean, my goal with these kids isn't so much to make them feel bad for being hypocrites as it is to humanize their teachers to them a little bit.
No, and I think that's a good thing.
I think that kids get this idea in their head that their teachers aren't people. I mean, they're authority figures, and, you know, kids hate authority.
I mean, they
have reasons to.
They make that joke in this movie. They see Tina Fey outside of work, and they're like, I love seeing teachers outside of work. It's like looking at a dog walking on 2 feet.
Oh, yeah, watching a dog walk on its hind legs. And it's true, like, God, my students are just, like, obsessed with, like, even, like, if I'm walking to my car, like, this student pointed out to me one day that she knows what kind of car I drive. And, I mean, I park, like, right next to their bus line, so of course she knows what kind of car I drive. I walked right out there. Or, like, one of them saw me grocery shopping with you. And the next day was like, I saw you with your boyfriend at Walmart. And I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, sometimes I buy food. Weird, huh?
It is weird.
It was just wild to them, both that I buy food and that I have a boyfriend.
It is very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange. I was one of those people who assumed their teachers slept in their classrooms until I graduated high school.
Yeah, most of us just turn off at the end of the day like a robot. We just go,
and just slump in the corner of the room.
Yeah, and then when the bell rings, we're like, Beautiful. But, I mean, I think my kids should realize that I'm not a robot, because I'm late every day with a coffee in my hand, and they try to talk to me, and I'm like, hey, you have to wait for me to finish this coffee before you can talk to me.
Wait until I oil up.
Yeah. I don't usually say that. Sometimes I say that. I'm competing with people who've been awake for, like, a full hour longer than I have.
Yeah. Those little bastards.
I need to wake up a little bit.
Okay, so we have Yeah. Oh, the burn book that gets let out into the world.
Yeah, Regina distributes it to everybody.
Yeah,
That's
what
her
a jerk.
revenge.
And
We have, sorry, it's a little late. I'm yawning. We have our very funny redemption scene that I love.
you mean the apologies?
Yeah, so everybody makes apologies. My favorite, how many of you have felt personally victimized by Regina George? And everybody, including the teachers and the principal, raised their hand.
Yeah, Tim Meadows very, very cautiously raises his broken arm to signify his fear of student Regina George.
Yeah.
High school junior. Tina Fey has them all write apologies to one another. There's the real good one that farts. What's her name? Karen says about Gretchen.
I'm sorry that I laughed at you for getting diarrhea in Barnes and Noble and then told everybody about it.
And that I'm repeating it here.
I love
good.
Gretchen. I'm sorry that I'm so popular and everyone's jealous of me.
Which is the ultimate, like, billionaire sort of, like, one of those things like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. Or like,
anybody
or
would make
like the mogul's, like, son being like, it's the ultimate, like, well, I'm sorry, you know, I worked so hard and found myself in this place, and you all have nothing, and just because of that you don't like me, or whatever.
I'm the real victim here.
Right.
Me, the daughter of the man who invented toaster strudel.
Yeah.
And then she does her trust fall, and everybody moves out of the way.
Yeah, Regina George is very good.
Not Regina.
Or, I'm sorry.
Gretchen Wieners.
Gretchen's, yeah.
Regina doesn't even do one.
No, she skips the apology.
Yeah. She feels throughout this that she shouldn't have to be here. Janice, of course, is a fucking hero. She just tells the whole plot against Regina and then is carried out by a cheering crowd.
Yeah. Which is interesting because when Regina first enters, she's being carried in by a crowd.
Oh, yeah, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Regina being introduced into this movie is being carried on the shoulders of many hunks, hot men, and then Janice rises and Regina falls.
Yeah, and then Regina gets mad and at our hero Katie and storms outside, and in the middle of screaming at Katie about how Katie is not worth the ground she stands on, Regina gets hit by a bus.
Yep.
It's really it's like super swift and out of nowhere and really good. Then we get our redemption stuff.
Yeah, so Katie does the mathlete thing, they win, she goes to prom, she's elected prom queen.
Yeah, she does, like, it's a really powerful 2 hours for Katie.
Yeah, really corny speech, apologizing to the whole school.
She redistributes the wealth that is the plastic crown.
Yes. She gets the boy.
We're all queens here.
Yeah. Aaron falls in love with her again.
Yeah.
And then Regina, her spine heals. She joins the girls' field hockey team.
Where the girls aren't. So basically, there's like it's like everyone finds their own, like, their place in the greater market of the high school where they're most useful. There's Regina is no longer like a threat to the people around her on the field hockey team because the field hockey girls are tough and will, beat her up.
Yeah, so this is everybody. The plastics are disbanded and their hierarchy, their stranglehold on the school goes away because each of them become valued for their merits,
Yeah.
their marketable talents.
Yeah. Gretchen. Well,
They're
Gretchen,
doing
not
competition
really.
in the correct way.
Gretchen
Gretchen finds a new queen bee to serve. The hot Asian, which also we didn't even touch on that whole subplot of the two Asian girls and the coach.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go. I mean, that actually happened at my high school. There was a teacher who was sleeping with students. He didn't get in any trouble. He just got fired.
What?
Yeah, they never prosecuted him.
What?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's fucking crazy. Yeah.
I think that maybe the girl's family didn't want to put her through all that.
I mean, that's fair.
But I'm fairly certain that this guy might be teaching at another school. He was an asshole to me. He was so mean to me all the time. I had like the highest grade in the class, and I asked him why he hated me so much, and he told me he wouldn't want his kids to hang out with somebody like me. And he was sleeping with a 15-year-old girl. I wouldn't want any kid to hang out with him.
Yeah,
Ugh.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, so Coach Carr was another teacher like that. I don't even know. It's very weird. They kind of, I think this is another one of those weird race things.
Where
we have the fetishization of Asian women.
Right. Well, and also, like, it's part of how they're able to, like, in something that shouldn't really be a joke.
Yeah, it's not funny.
Yeah, it's because it's because, you know, they're very specifically, you know, they go through this thing in the very beginning when they're going through the lunchroom where they break everyone into their own social groups, and so it's immediately like we're othering. You know, there are these people and those people and those people, and then there's us. And it's very like, this is like, these girls don't even speak English for the whole movie, so they're like basically non-people within the context of the film. So the fact that Coach Carr is sleeping with them is like something that you could just like go ha at rather than be like, this is horrifying.
Yeah.
Which is the correct response.
Yeah. Also, I forget everything that they said. In the version we watched, they didn't have the subtitles for the Vietnamese. I do remember vaguely that one of them drops an N-bomb, though.
They do drop an N-bomb. I looked it up. Yeah, not great. Great. I mean, and there's a lot of those. There's not dropping N-bombs, but there's a lot of like language that I guess is totally appropriate for a high school in like 2003, 2004 or whatever. I know I didn't like drop the R word regularly when I was in high school, but I knew lots of people that did.
The whole presentation of Karen is ableist.
Yeah, I mean, Karen, you know, Karen's whole shtick is that, like...
She's very vapid and dumb. Yeah,
and it's I mean, it goes both ways. It's like this, you know, there's this thing that I think lots of women are encouraged to do to make themselves seem less smart in order to attract men, which is like this really weird, awful thing that patriarchy is wholly about, but they really just place it on her. She's just dumb.
Yeah, so her thing that she ends up doing after the fall of the plastics is doing the weather report for the school news, because her boobs can predict the weather.
Normal stuff.
Yeah, but again, she's funneling her inherent talent into something that's marketable.
Yeah.
Katie just goes back to being a normal kid.
She's just, a mathlete.
Yeah.
And hangs out with everybody.
Yeah.
Her clique has, like, way expanded. And, yeah, everything is, like, all hunky-dory at the end. There's, like, it's like the end of The Lion King. Yeah. Again, you know, the reign of Scar, the confusion that comes from Scar is over, and the circle of life is back in place, and everything is all happy, and hunky dory, and they see the freshman plastics walking in, and
imply that they'll be hit by a bus.
Imply they'll hit them with a bus, which is an interesting reaction. But
something that I do see as sort of unrealistic here is the idea that seniors would ever interact with freshmen. I never interacted with freshmen when I was a senior, and when I was a freshman, no senior noticed my existence.
I was in like a couple of classes that had seniors in it.
Your high school was weird.
You
were a nerd.
Well,
in senior classes.
Okay, no, absolutely not. All of the classes that I was placed in, I did really poorly on. A couple of my placement exams, going into high school, I had one of those pencils with a fake eraser that just left a big pink streak, and so I remember on a couple of those placement exams, I skipped a question, and it's like the ones where you have to bubble in the answer. And so I had to go back and erase all my answers, but it was one of those erasers that just left a pink streak. So I did really terribly on all of my placement exams. I was kind of, I wouldn't have been in that good a class, even if I had. But they're like, you really need to work on your math and your English and your science.
I had band, which was all grade levels, but again, I
had a stagecraft class.
Yeah, the seniors didn't really interact with the freshmen.
The stagecraft class had some of the nerdiest seniors in it, but also dudes who liked the Pixies and stuff like that, which was, cool as a freshman to meet.
Chicago must be a magical place.
No, it's not. But, so I met some interesting people, but then, but really there was not this, people might have noticed, why is that kid with this, really bad faux hawk walking? Who is this person? What does he think this haircut is? But which is about all the time of day they gave the freshman plastics.
Yeah.
I
guess,
guess,
implying that they would handle them if they tried to do anything.
That's true. They would never have thought I would have tried to do anything. Yeah,
nobody gave two shits about freshman dynamics besides the freshmen at my school.
No, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else? Do you really feel like we missed out on this, or
it's a really funny, good movie, and it's also about bourgeois white feminism.
Yeah. But there's some laughs in between.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a classic. Everybody should see it. But
we hardly talked about how good Tim Meadows is in this movie. He freaking rules.
You have a crush on Tim Meadows.
I think every line he delivers is absolutely fantastic. Also, again, I'm just doing this because there aren't enough men in this movie, and I need to amplify the voices of men in this movie.
Don't even do that.
Neil Flynn, the dude who plays Katie's dad, the janitor from Scrubs.
His facial expressions are on point throughout.
Yeah, another one. Very, very funny. But yeah, if it's been a while since you watched Mean Girls, just fucking change that. Go watch Mean Girls.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a delight. But yeah. This was, I think, episode 4. Podcast pod at podcast
pod.
Fuck. The podcast pod.
At
Jesus.
popcorn_pod. We are the conquest of popcorn. I'm Pinko at Pinko_snob.
I'm Barto at El Barto Army. We are actually on iTunes now.
Yay!
We have a SoundCloud URL now. SoundCloud.com/The Conquest of Popcorn.
Maybe we'll do a Patreon soon.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, I don't want to charge y'all for this, but I do need some money.
Yeah. Yeah, we're like paying for SoundCloud now, which is like
So we need to make $15 a month.
Yeah, we have to make $15 a month. But yeah, until that time, sound off in the comments.
Like us,
rate us, whatever.
Help us overtake Chapo.
Yeah,
Chapo doesn't know it yet, but we are in a competition with them.
Are we?
For podcast supremacy.
We are so far behind, but we'll get there.
Yeah, one day I am going to make $100,000 a month podcasting.
Yeah, holy shit. That sounds wild.
Oh my God. I'm going to do it for like 2 months and then quit.
Can you imagine paying taxes on podcasting?
I have no idea how. I guess you do it as like a business. I don't know.
It seems
Can you
wild.
imagine like incorporating as a business?
No. Absolutely not. Anyways, y'all, thanks for listening. And
Smell you later.
Smell you later. Hope you have a great week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.